I had a job where I made $300,000 in 1 year with the prospects of making even more in an industry that I loved while doing something that perfectly aligned my goals. I was in a position that other people would kill for, but then I walked away. Now you might be asking, why would I do this? In this video, I'm going to be sharing my story that ultimately led to me leaving my high-paying job. So to give you some background, my mindset of being okay with not having a full-time job started back in 2012. I was an intern at a large engineering firm, and I was a good employee that liked my job. Then one day, I heard that my grandpa was getting sick. My grandpa was super old and was approaching 100 years old, and everyone in my family knew that it was his time to go. Now, I was based in California, and my family would have to fly over to New York to visit my grandpa. I didn't have too much money back then, so flying over and paying a couple $100s to get there was a significant amount of money to me. So I talked to my dad, and I said, "Dad, should I ask for some days off of work to go visit?" And he told me, "It's okay. You can just stay at work and continue being a good employee." And so that's what I did. All of my other family members went to go visit my grandpa except for me, and eventually he did pass away. And I just felt really stupid afterwards because this was my grandpa and I stayed behind for a job. But flash forward a few years later, and I eventually left that job. But since then, no one there has missed me. My managers, who are all saying that I was doing a great job, have never called me and never asked how I was doing. So I realized that my job, my time there, they didn't really care about me, but my family does. And to choose that job and that shift over my grandpa's deathbed was just really, really dumb. You don't live to go to work. You go to work so that you can make the money, so you can do the things that you want to do. And the sad thing is, I didn't even have the guts to ask for permission to go visit my grandpa. I felt ashamed to ask for the time off because I wanted to continue being a good employee in my boss's eyes. I didn't want to stir the pot and cause trouble. So that ended up having me miss out on a very important part of my life, my grandpa's passing. So I learned my lesson, and I told myself that the next time there was a family emergency, that I wouldn't care about what my employer would think and would just book a flight and go visit immediately. But that got me thinking that I didn't want to be held down by anything or anyone. I wanted the flexibility to do what I want to do, and ultimately I realized that I was always replaceable. So I don't have to worry about sacrificing my happiness and my well-being for a company that doesn't even care about me once I left. Now, a few years later, I left engineering and I started a career as a hard money lender. The job was great because I was helping real estate investors get loans for their fix and flip projects. I would host meetup groups and post YouTube videos to get clients. And the job aligned perfectly with what I was interested in doing, and I was making a lot of money because we get paid by commission. So the more loans I did, the more money I made. But there were some downsides to that as well. First of all, most of my clients are amazing people, but there is a small percentage of investors out there who are really unpleasant to deal with. They are incredibly entitled and they think of themselves as the king of the world and above the law. They claim to have done a bunch of deals, but in reality, they probably only completed 2 flips, and they also have terrible credit scores, but they still expect us to give them incredibly low rates for their deals. They'll complain that their loan is taking forever to close, even though they're the ones who didn't send their paperwork in on time. And I hated dealing with these type of clients, but I felt like it was my obligation to do my best job to cater to everyone's needs and give them the best service. And there's also situations where things just don't go as smoothly as expected, such as when a property gets appraised a lot lower than expected, and then we have to lower our loan amount. Those experiences made it very difficult for me and would slowly eat away at my happiness. I had to spend all of my energy on these hard and difficult clients that it drained and took away my attention from the other parts of my life. Even with my wife, Sharon, sometimes I would be so mentally drained from dealing with all these clients that I would snap at her, and then I would catch myself and realize, wait a minute, she doesn't deserve this. She wasn't even doing anything bad. I just got irritated too easily. And then I realized, no, this isn't okay. I can't be living a life like this. And worst of all was the lack of freedom due to the role. You see, when you have a job in sales where you're providing a lot of customer service to a direct consumer, such as being a loan officer, a real estate agent, or an insurance agent, you're always on call. There's always a potential client out there that you have to reply to, and you also have to be available for your clients at all times. And even on my wedding day, I was getting calls from clients who were asking about the status of their loan, and I had to fight fires and coordinate with my team to make sure that their deal got done on time. Now, we got the job done, but I thought to myself, is life gonna be like this forever? Is this hassle worth the money? There's a friend of ours who is another entrepreneur in the content creation space, and he said that he actually used to work for a banking company, and he told me that these bankers were making millions of dollars a year, but they were also some of the most unhappy people that he's known. And I looked at myself and I said, that's gonna be me. I was becoming one of those unhappy people, and I was tired all the time. So being able to leave that and to have my own schedule, to focus on my own business really changed the game. Now, luckily, I'd always known that I would not be in this position forever. And this went back to 10 years ago when I first worked at the internship, and I saw that my coworkers at my engineering firm were just being super unhappy with their jobs. Even though they were making a decent salary as an engineer, they still couldn't afford the things that they wanted, such as a house within 30 minutes of work. These guys all had 45+ minute commutes, and they're unhappy with their pay, unhappy with management, but they just weren't in the position to do anything about it. They were uncertain and they relied on their paychecks. So I knew that I wanted a different future. One where I wouldn't have to worry about my finances or how much someone else was willing to pay me. And so because of that, I started investing in real estate. I started my own social media business. I made enough revenue that it didn't matter if I had a full-time job or not. I was set for life. So when the real estate market turned a few months ago, we started seeing some layoffs in the industry, and my coworkers became worried about their job security. Whereas I was on the complete opposite spectrum. I was ready to leave. And because I was so prepared and I told them my intention of leaving, they were actually thankful because if I left, someone else was able to stay and keep their job. So basically, I saved someone from getting laid off. So now that you know my story and why I left a $300,000 job, here are some of the lessons that you should know about how jobs work. Number one, you're replaceable. Your company just does not care about you. You may think that you're a star employee and that without you, the organization will fail. Well, this simply isn't true. And number two, there is no limit if you work for yourself. Now, it might be scary to leave your job because you're thinking that insurance will cost a lot or that your normal paychecks won't be there. But if you're able to work and break through, the opposite side is so much bigger because there's no cap in how much you can make if you work for yourself. Obviously, if you need the money now, don't quit your job just yet. I set myself up in a position so that I didn't care and I could leave, no problem. Number three, money is not everything. Your time is more important than money. You don't even need that much to survive. You might be thinking that you need this big fat salary, but in reality, your expenses don't have to be that high. And if you're working for someone else, you won't be in charge of your life, no matter how much they pay you. And I remember one of the best times this year was when I went on a 3-day cruise and had no cell phone reception. People were still trying to call me as the ship was leaving the dock. The 3 days of radio silence were amazing. And number four, nothing is impossible. People are always thinking that it's impossible for me, or I can't do this. But in reality, everything is doable if you put the time and effort into it. I think the big secret that people don't know is that they have to commit. So in general, people overestimate what they can do in 1 year, but they underestimate what they can do in 10 years. They give up too quickly before letting things grow. And I know that the me from 10 years ago would be ecstatic to see where I am today. I don't need to go to the office anymore. I don't feel like I have to answer to anybody. And I don't have to spend more time with my coworkers than with my friends and loved ones. So now that I quit, I'm able to focus more on the business and on things that actually make a difference in my life. Since I was able to gain so much from my real estate investments and realizing how much easier it is to run a real estate investing business compared to creating a startup company or getting into e-commerce, I dedicated my life to making real estate easy on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. This way, people could get into it and not feel intimidated so that they could achieve that financial independence as well. My wife Sharon and I actually started a new business called GoodSweetHomes, which is a name that came from combining our Chinese names. And we started it to help people achieve financial freedom through real estate. We've helped over 1,000 students start their real estate investing journey by teaching them how to purchase their first rental property. And it feels so good to go to events and conferences to meet some of these students and hear how our content has changed their lives. But also, now that I've quit my job, I've been able to pursue some of my lifelong dreams, such as learning how to shuffle dance. Now, did I have any fears before I quit? Definitely. One of my biggest fears that prevented me from quitting earlier was the fear of disappointing my family and the fear of feeling irresponsible for leaving so much money on the table. I was making good money and I cut that source of income. The job counted for a majority of my income, so it was really hard to let that go. There was also the fear of uncertainty, since I wouldn't have something to rely on and I could have increased costs, such as paying for my insurance. But despite those fears, what I feared the most was being forced to do something that didn't make me happy and the fear of not trying something that I love doing. Some of you might even feel the same. Maybe some of you are wanting to quit your jobs, but your fear is stopping you. My advice is, whatever your fears are, conquer them. Don't let other people be in charge of your life, no matter how much they pay you. If you aren't trying to achieve your own dream, then you're only achieving someone else's. And you may fail, but that's okay. Failing is better than having the regrets of not trying. Now, I'm not saying that you need to quit your job ASAP, but I hope that my story helped you reevaluate your plans and goals in your life. Now, if you're interested in learning how to get into real estate investing to generate passive income, then check out our free How to Buy Your First Rental Masterclass. The link is gonna be down in the description. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you next one. Take care.